Hello, this is the second part of the feedback on the Mrs. Porch comprehension, questions 4 and 5. So question 4 asks how the writer makes the lines in the section tense and dramatic. So we're looking for things that make the characters uncomfortable, make the reader feel a little bit uneasy, the sense of uncertainty. So what I'm noticing here is Mrs. Porch's she's unaware of the fact that Jenny's hidden the purse from her, so she seems quite sort of naive about it. She keeps looking for it. I can't seem to find your purse, Mrs. Taylor. It's not in the usual place. It's like what the reader would be waiting for Mrs. Porch to perhaps realise what Jenny had done and waiting for her to react to that. Jenny uses a strangled voice, so that adjective there shows Jenny's anxiety, fear, if you like. The adverb hastily shows again that Jenny is not perhaps in control of this situation. She spills the baby's milk, so the situation starts to become a little bit chaotic. Mrs. Porch doesn't get the message. Don't you bother, said Mrs. Porch. There it is. And she's persistent. She gets the purse. And again, you've got that contrast between what Jenny's trying to do, trying to control the situation, trying to get the purse from Mrs. Porch persisting in taking it. And that causes Jenny to react. She says in a voice shrilly, that adverb. No, said Jenny shrilly. Please leave it, Mrs. Porch. And the writer uses capital letters at that point to suggest a little bit of volume, again adding to perhaps the tension in that situation. And you've got lots of noise. The baby's crying, the doorbell's still ringing, all of which are creating a slightly chaotic atmosphere in the room. And Jenny's emotional response is described, her heart's thumping horribly. Notice all these adverbs, very, very important little technique here. Mrs. Porch is looking at Jenny intently, so Mrs. Porch has become aware, maybe at this point, that Jenny is onto her, or Jenny's suspicious of Mrs. Porch. Mrs. Porch reacts quite in a measured and controlled way. She speaks slowly as opposed to Jenny, who speaks shrilly and moves hastily. Is there something wrong with the purse, Mrs. Taylor? Something bothering you? And that little bit of repetition, something wrong, something bothering you. She's beginning to probe a little bit, and that makes perhaps Jenny and the reader a little bit uncomfortable. Jenny struggles a little bit to express herself. No, said Jenny wildly, another adverb. At least I don't want, I couldn't bear, there's some sort of mistake, I'm sure. So it's all those broken sentences making it feel a bit disjointed, making us empathise with Jenny's anxiety here. Mrs. Porch is very, very calm, and she uses very short, controlled sentences. I see, said Mrs. Porch. Perhaps we feel a little bit sorry for her at this point. Maybe there's a sense of uncertainty. Has she taken the money or not? But then her briskness returns. We get on, I thought, so I'm not going to say anything more about it and pretend it never happened. And that's all there is to it. And I think here she's controlling Jenny. She's manipulating the situation, isn't she? So maybe she has taken the purse, the money from the purse. Maybe this is her way of managing the situation. All of it creates that feeling of uncertainty, of sort of tension. Though she does give Jenny a sort of option at the end of that section, unless, of course, said Mrs. Porch, you'd rather I didn't come anymore. And again, she confronts Jenny, doesn't she? And Jenny would struggle to answer that question. So all of that creates that feeling of drama, of tension. Okay, that was question 4. Question 5 is how we're encouraged to feel sympathy with Jenny. And again, you might sort of repeat little bits that you've used in question 4 here. So there's Jenny's sort of shock and uncertainty. There always seemed to be less money than she thought there'd be. Twice she took out her purse in the shops and found she had less than she thought. So again, we'd feel sorry for her there because, Jenny's presented, isn't she, as a character who's perhaps not quite in control of situations, a character who other people control. So we'd feel sorry for her here, as if she's making mistakes, not keeping an eye on her finances. Her reaction, her emotional reaction when she discovers again that the money is missing, is described as feeling a little thud of shock in her stomach. So, we would feel sorry for Jenny that she's experiencing this unpleasant emotion. When Mrs. Porch, the fact that Jenny's using a strangled voice, we mentioned that in question 4, but again, that would show that she's uneasy with the situation, feels unhappy. We would feel sorry for Jenny when Mrs. Porch manipulates and controls her when she says, "We got on, I thought, so I'm not going to say anything more about it." It's as if Jenny's rendered powerless. She can't do anything. We'd feel sorry for her there. And it ends up with Jenny apologising. "No, honestly, I'm sorry. I expect there's been a mistake." Jenny's the one who really is the one who's been wronged, but here everything's been turned round, and it's Mrs. Porch is sort of manipulating Jenny, and again we would feel sorry for her here. And when Mrs. Porch says, "I'd put the purse back in the dresser if I were you, Mrs. Taylor. It'll be a nuisance if I can't find it, won't it?" It's like an order, isn't it? Won't it? She's kind of prompting Jenny to leave the money where she can access it. So Jenny's completely powerless. Not only is Mrs. Porch taken over this household, taking Jenny's money possibly, but here she's saying to Jenny, "Don't even think about hiding the money from me." And Jenny's caught in this situation. She thinks about how her life's been transformed and the house is always clean, so she feels trapped because she's been forced to take this cleaner on, and the cleaner, in fairness, has made the house a better place. But it's come with a high price. She's having her money taken from her, so she's in a difficult quandary there. And at the end, it just says that she says quietly, yes, all right, Mrs. Porch. She gives in. So Mrs. Porch is sort of completely beaten her, and Jenny's utterly defeated. So even her voice, her voice is quiet. Mrs. Porch's voice is brisk. So all the way through, we would feel sorry for Jenny. Okay.